In the home stretch here, the Honorable Oleg Dunda, a member of Parliament in Ukraine, who's going to offer some remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm delighted to welcome everyone today. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude. Special thanks to Honorable Robert Pittenger and your entire team for excellent organization of the forum in Madrid. And of course, many thanks to the Honorable Speaker of Senate, Pedro Roland, for his hospitality. So, today we will talk about things that until recently were science fiction, about space forces. Who interested in politics will immediately recall US President Ronald Reagan's strategic defense initiative. That strategic defense initiative was famous for its huge budgets and plans that were technically impossible at the time. However, it did achieve its goal. It dragged the USSR into a deadly arms race. 40 years have passed since then, and Russia's current war against Ukraine has clearly shown that 20th century military technology no longer works. Over the past month, I have traveled almost the entire front line in Ukraine, from Sumy to Odessa, from north to south. I spoke with soldiers from the airborne troops, intelligence, and even the Navy. As a result, I can say with complete confidence that no military operation can do without satellites. Thank you very much. Their presence, along with nuclear power status, is a key criterion. It determines whether a country can claim the role of a geopolitical leader. There is one caveat. Nuclear weapons are deterrent, are practically unusable in conventional warfare. Space forces, on the other hand, are an aid to all types of troops. Traditional methods of aerial reconnaissance and communications are vulnerable in modern warfare. This explains high status of space forces. The experience of the war in Ukraine shows that with active air defense, aviation effectively loses its freedom of action. The risk of losing the most valuable part of any craft, the crew, is too high. This limits the ability to command troops and conduct reconnaissance behind the front lines. In addition, existing communication systems become ineffective when electronics warfare is used on large scale. Only space forces are capable of solving this problem. Today, there is no reliable and widely applicable way to take out enemy satellites. Any attempt carries the risk of losing of your own orbital group. Even the few technologies that could potentially destroy a single satellite will not work. In a situation where hundreds of targets need to be neutralized simultaneously, they are useless. Totally useless. That is why space forces remain the only tool in the modern warfare for. The first, conducting reconnaissance using optical observation satellites and probing the Earth's surface and at previously inaccessible levels. The second, providing all types of troops with reliable means of communication. And the last, operation control of equipment and military units directly on the battlefield. So I would like to highlight the last point in particular, the ability to control armies en masse in real time during combat. This isn't just technological progress, but a real revolution in military affairs that has taken place in Ukraine. By 2025, the Russian-Ukraine war had changed format. The familiar patterns of the 20th century remained in 2022. Now we have totally another war. Now there is a high-tech confrontation in the 21st century with mass use of drones. One of the most striking examples is Ukrainian naval drones in Black Sea. It's thanks to Starlink that they are operating successfully in Black Sea. As a result, this technological revolution in the military spheres has made it possible to, the first, significantly reduce casualties among soldiers and commanders. After all, human resource remains the most expensive and irreplaceable in wartime. The second, significantly reduce the size of strike and transport platforms due to the absence of crews. This makes them more mobile and less vulnerable to enemy fire. A light and maneuverable buggy is more likely to survive on battlefield than a bulky 50-ton tank. The third, significantly reduce the cost of combat equipment and weapons. There's no need for armor, which means that the weight and dimension of equipment are reduced. And the last, open up areas on the front and scenarios that were previously considered no-go zones for manned vehicles to the army. In the near future, almost all military equipment will rely on space infrastructure. This will lead to profound changes in the technical equipment of all types of armed forces. Traditional weapons such as tanks, artillery, aircraft carriers are becoming a kind of 21st century equivalent of dreadnoughts, like 100 years ago. They are cumbersome, expensive, and ineffective in modern warfare. This requires authorities to urgently review the priorities of defense budget in favor of development of space forces. Of course, if the country wants to maintain its real combat capability and geopolitical base in the near future. So let's take a look at the current state of this sector. Who controls space now? As of 2024, government spending on space program amounted to about $135 billion. Of this, $73 billion is allocated to the defense sector. In the near future, we should expect explosive growth in space exploration costs. The United States remains the leader in this field at the moment. It accounts for $80 billion, or 59%, of all spending on space programs. China ranks second. Its spending on space program is about 4 times less than that of the United States. It's the level of the European Union. The same. Fortunately, Russia's achievements in this area are negligible and not even worth mention. According to current statistics, there are currently over 5,000 American satellites in space. The European Union and the United Kingdom together have just over 900 orbital devices. China has about 650 satellites. Russia has only 181 satellites, but most of them are obsolete, very obsolete. But the statistic on new launch is much more convincing. In 2024, the United States carried out 151 launches. China carried out 65 launches. Russia carried out 17 launches. The European Union carried out 4 launches. Think about that number. Just 4. European Union. So I would say Elon Musk is controlling space now, for now. Just one person, Elon Musk. Among states, United States is a leader in space forces. The only real contender for now is China, and possibly Europe. if it radically changes its vision of the development of space programs. Also, Europe may remain a satellite of the United States. The state of technical thought in Russia doesn't allow us to expect anything breakthrough from them, apart from naturally old Soviet legacy. Let me give you a clear example from Ukrainian battlefield. Ukraine today has a significant advantage over Russia in the Black Sea. Thanks to what? US satellite intelligence support and access to Starlink. That is why Russian Black Sea fleet has effectively been reduced to scrap metal. Russia cannot operate effectively in naval war, in current naval war. It has neither sufficient satellites and no space communication technology. While Ukraine is successfully deploying naval drones, Russian developments in this area remain at the level of science fiction. Of course, Russia is trying to compensate for its lack of satellite infrastructure. In particular, the occupiers are using smuggled Starlink terminals or European equivalents such as Eutelsat. I saw a lot of examples of using by Russia Eutelsat in Sumy or Donetsk region. However, this does not solve the problem due to Russian limited access to Starlink service and terminals. Eutelsat's coverage and connection quality insufficient to guarantee the operation of drones, especially maritime ones. To date, Russia has no viable alternative to American satellites, especially without serious compromise in quality. Today, we are on the threshold of fundamentally new military and geopolitical era. Space is no longer real or symbolic breakthrough or science fiction. It has become a key tool of modern warfare. Space forces have already changed the nature of combat operations. In the near future, they will also change the balance of power in the world. In the 20th century, nuclear power determined a country's roles on international stage. In the 21st century, this role will be played by presence of space forces. To be leader in future military alliances, a country needs to give its army next points. First, constant satellite surveillance. The second, reliable communications. The third, real-time unit command and machine control. The rest country will have to choose whose orbits they will share, American or Chinese. Or maybe Europe, but for this a united Europe must make every effort. Such changes will inevitably lead to the formation of new defense alliances. And they may even be more effective than the military blocs around the nuclear umbrella. This transformation requires us to reconcile the following today. The structure of defense budgets, because old military, instruments like tanks, artillery, and maybe aircraft carriers useless now. Priorities for international cooperation and approach to strategic planning. If we want to be ready for tomorrow's challenges, we need to invest not in the arsenals of the past, but in the technologies of the future. Space forces will not just reshape the battlefield, not only in Ukraine. They will redraw the world's balance of power with this future. And we need to change all our defense, not just industry, but defense ideology, first of all. Without that, any country is in the future will not have any possibilities and opportunities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It's fascinating. It may not be the final frontier, but one of the next frontiers for national security, defense, innovation.